صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة يا ليتنا فيا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. قال تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأنه هو أضحك وأبكى. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions the idea that He is also the creator of human emotion. And there are two emotions that are mentioned in this verse. Laughing. He is the one who makes you laugh. What does this verse mean? Laughing, in most cases, is an indication of the human emotion of happiness and joy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prides Himself as the one who created this emotion. He created this emotion of happiness. When you experience happiness, when you laugh, when you enjoy, when you experience that emotion is a result of certain chemical reactions that happen in the body. And those processes are created and regulated by Allah Azza wa Jal. And this emotion is so important. Happiness, joy, they are so pleasurable to us that it is considered ghayatul ghayat. Meaning, philosophers, they say that it is the ultimate end of all of our endeavors. Because everything that you do it because you believe that it is going to bring you joy or happiness, whether immediately or in the long run. Everything that you do it for that ultimate goal, to experience that pleasure, that emotion, the emotion of happiness. You know, why do you go to school? Some of you maybe go to school because your parents force you, but generally people go to school because you want to get a good degree. You want to go to a good college. Why do you want to go to a good college? So you can get a good degree. Why do you want to get a good degree? Because you want to be marketable when you graduate. You want to get a job, yes? Why do you want to get a job? So I can earn money. Why do you want to earn money? Because I want to buy a house, I want to buy a car, I want to get married, I want to start a family. Why do you want to do those things? Eventually, you're going to get sick of the person who's asking you and you're going to say, because I want to be happy. Because I want to be happy. Does it make sense for me to ask you, why do you want to be happy? It's the ultimate end. It's the ultimate goal. And this is something that even non-Muslims recognize. All human beings recognize this. That's why when you look at the Declaration of Independence, that was, the founding fathers of the United States, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, one of the things that they mention as an inalienable right is what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All human beings recognize that this emotion is something that is positive. Everything that we do it because we want to achieve happiness. We want to experience that human emotion. We want it to last. No sane person will ever say that I don't want to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy. We perceive happiness as a positive human emotion. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah, He says what? وَأَنَّهُ هُوَ أَضْحَكَ وَأَبْكَى. He's the one who also makes you cry. And crying is an indication of the emotion of sadness. Sadness. Now, unfortunately, many people, they look at happiness as a positive human emotion. But sadness, many of us, we consider it a negative human emotion. That's why we're always trying to suppress sadness, or we're trying to get rid of that feeling. But sadness is not a negative human emotion. In fact, sadness is a necessary human emotion. You will not reach kamal. You will not reach human perfection. You will not grow as a person. You will not develop your soul unless you also experience sadness. You know, you and I, we intuitively know that someone who's always happy is probably abnormal. It's not normal to always be happy. It's very natural and it's necessary to experience sadness. But the problem is, many times we either try to protect ourselves from this emotion, or we allow this emotion to paralyze us. We allow sadness to paralyze us. And then the sadness, which is a natural human emotion, we devolve and we descend into despair and then depression. Why? Because we don't know how to handle this emotion of sadness. But they're both good. They're both necessary, because everything that is created by Allah is good. بِيَدِهِ الْخَيْرِ. Everything that comes, that emanates from Allah, there's khair in it. There's goodness in it. And you find that even when you look at awliyaullah, the friends of God, the prophets, the chosen personalities, these holy personalities, all of them experienced sadness, and in fact they embraced sadness, and they used that emotion to do productive things. It's an energy that you have to channel it. You have to use your sadness effectively. So we should never think that sadness is something that only happens to us. You know, it happened to even the greatest personalities. If you look at the Quran, Nabi Yaqub alayhi salam is a prophet of God. He is the father of which prophet? Yusuf. When Yusuf alayhi salam was separated from him, when his brothers betrayed him and they threw him in the well, and then he ends up not seeing his son for decades. If you're a parent, what happens to your heart when you're in the shopping mall or you're in the mall and you can't find your kid for 10 minutes? Imagine how much grief you feel. What happens to you? Yaqub, some narrations say 40 years he's separated from Yusuf. Sometimes we have this impression that prophets are superhuman and they experienced real human emotions like you and I. Ayah 84 of Surah Yusuf. وَتَوَلَّى عَنْهُمْ. His sons used to always mock him for how much he used to grieve over Yusuf, his son. وَتَوَلَّى عَنْهُمْ وَقَالَ يَا أَسَفَا عَلَى يُوسُف. He didn't suppress it. He he embraced the sadness. You got to let it wash over you. You got to feel it. It's okay to feel sad. وقال يا أسفا على يوسف وبيضت عيناه من الحزن فهو كظيم. He cried and he mourned. He felt so much anguish because of that he became blind. He became blind. So this shows you that prophets also suffer emotionally. But he never allowed that sadness to break him. He always had hope that the faraj is near. He allowed that sadness to strengthen his bond with Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is Yaqub. And subhanallah, there are those who say that, why you Shias, you guys always cry for Imam al-Hussein. It's something that happened and get over it. Get over it. Why did Yaqub cry for 40 years? Why? He's a prophet of God. He's a teacher, a moral teacher. Why did he cry for 40 years? Did Yusuf get killed? No. Was Yusuf in danger? He was living in a palace. He was comfortable, and Yaqub knew this. Was Yusuf's head separated from his body? Is that why he was crying? He was crying just because he missed Yusuf. What would Yaqub do if Yusuf was beheaded and they trampled his body with the horses? What would Yaqub do? They blame us for beating the chest and expressing grief. What would Yaqub do if they did that to Yusuf? Yaqub went blind from grief because he was not able to just be with Yusuf. And that's why we also have to feel a bit of sadness in our hearts that it's been 14 centuries and we don't have access to Imam Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman. We have to feel that love, that yearning for awliyaullah. So this is Yaqub. We also have an example of women, noble women in the Quran, who embrace this emotion of sadness. Sometimes sisters, women are given a hard time that, you're emotional, you're this and that. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have emotions. If you look at the Quran, what does Allah say about the mother of Musa in Surah Al-Qasas, ayah number 10, ayah number 7? وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. Pharaoh issued an order that any newborn male from the Israelites is to be killed because he saw a dream that his kingdom was going to be destroyed. And the one who is going to bring his empire down is an Israelite. So he issued this order. Allah, He inspired the heart of Musa's mother that suckle him, breastfeed him. But if you are afraid, if you fear for his life, what does Allah want her to do? فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. Put him in the river. Imagine a mother having to do that. Some mothers are uncomfortable if someone else is holding their baby. Their hearts are uneasy. She puts Musa, he's a baby, in a basket, and she puts him in the Nile River because she's afraid that Pharaoh might kill him. The soldiers of Pharaoh might kill him. Now, subhanallah, how Allah's qadar takes place. The waves, they take him. Now, you're afraid that he might drown. So many things could happen. The waves, they take this baby where? Into the mouth of the shark, as they say. He ends up at the shore of the zalim who wants to kill him. You think Allah wasn't controlling the waves? You think the waves just do whatever? Allah was controlling each wave. Allah wanted to deliver Musa to Pharaoh to show us his power. that Fir'aun wants to kill Musa. Allah says, not only am I not going to let that happen, I'm going to make you raise him for me. You're going to put food in his mouth, he's going to grow up, and then he's going to overthrow you. Subhanallah, look at the power of Allah. That Allah says, no, not only am I going to save him, I'm going to make you raise him. I'm going to have you slaughter yourself. Now when that happened, what happened to the heart of the mother? Now it's bad enough you put him in a basket and he's in the Nile River by himself, this helpless baby. And the baby ends up with Fir'aun. Allahu Akbar. وَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ أُمِّ مُوسَى فَارِغًا. Allah says that her heart felt empty, like she lost everything. Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemn her for feeling this emotion, for feeling that sadness and that sorrow? She always supplicated, she used that sadness to strengthen her relationship with Allah. And believe me, brothers and sisters, sadness is a ni'mah for us. You know why? Because when do you usually make the most sincere dua? When you're sad. When your heart is broken. That's when you take out Mafati'ul Jinan and you sit with khushu' and then you shed a tear. That's good for you. When you're happy and you're laughing, no, you're going to the movies, you're going to Stanley Park, maybe you don't even do your salah because you're happy. Life is good. And Allah wants you to enjoy your life, but Allah also knows that you need reality checks. You need to know that you have a purpose, that don't fly too high. You need to come back to earth. So this is normal. It's a normal human emotion. Even the Prophet ﷺ, he experienced sadness and sorrow. You know, the Prophet ﷺ, believe me, any problem that you think of, the Prophet has dealt with some version of it. Right? You know, you grew up and you didn't have a relationship with your mother and your father. You say that, I have a difficult background. The Prophet lost his mother and he never met his father. So the Prophet becomes a source of therapy for you. That if you feel that you had to grow up by yourself in this world, the Prophet was there. He experienced that. Have you gotten married and you had a child and you were excited about it and then the child dies? Have you had a miscarriage? Have you lost a child? The Prophet lost multiple children. He lost his infant sons. Have you ever been in love with someone and they were your soulmate and then you lose them tragically because of certain circumstances? He loses Khadija, his wife. He loses Abu Talib, his backbone. And the Prophet never hid his emotions. That's what made him so effective. Because he was human. He was ma'soom, but there was a human side to him. He used to shed tears. He used to empathize with people. That's why the Prophet is relatable. Because he went through difficult times. And he called the year that he lost Khadija and Abu Talib Amul Huzn. And sometimes we men, we have to learn to embrace certain emotions. Because we're taught, that no, a man is never supposed to ever shed a tear. That crying is for women and children. Men, they don't shed tears. That's not true. The Prophet, he wept. He was a human being. Fatimatu Zahra salawatullahi alayha. She felt a lot of sadness after the death of the Prophet. And at most she lived maybe 95 days, maximum 95 days after the Prophet. Now in those 3 months, what happened to her? Can you imagine you're the daughter of the Prophet. Rasulullah is martyred. For those of you who have studied Islamic history thoroughly, he's martyred. and you're his daughter and you're crying because you miss him. And you have neighbors who are complaining to Ali ibn Abi Talib that tell Fatima to stop crying. Ajib, these people, they have no hearts. Amir al-Mu'mineen has to go and build a little structure for her. So she goes to the outskirts of Medina and she cries for her father, the Prophet. Baytul Ahzan. Can you imagine? What kind of ummah is this? Look at how they treated the Prophet's daughter. They wouldn't even allow her to express the emotion of sadness and sorrow for her father. Amir al-Mu'mineen also experienced sadness after the death of the Prophet. In Nahj al-Balagha, what does he say? Amir al-Mu'mineen, his faith is strong, but he's also human. He feels sadness. فَصَبَرْتُ وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَذَى وَفِي الْحَلْقِ شَجَى. That I was patient. But just because you're patient, it doesn't mean that you don't feel. He said, I was patient after the death of the Prophet, but I felt as though I had a thorn in my eye. When you have something in your eye, it's very uncomfortable, it's painful. I felt like I had a thorn in my eye and a bone in my throat. That's how Amir al-Mu'mineen felt. And then Imam after Imam. But tonight, we want to speak about Imam Zain al-Abideen, salawatullahi alayhi. La sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There's a narration from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam where he says, Al-Bakka'una khamsa. The ones who are known for their tears are 5. There are 5 weepers among humanity. The first is Adam alayhi salam. When he was removed from that garden, he cried because he went from this place of comfort and now he has to enter into this state of ibtila. Number 2 is Yaqub. He cried for decades because he was separated from Yusuf. Yusuf is number 3. He cried when he was in the prison. Why did he cry? Because he was falsely accused of adultery. Do you know how painful it is to be falsely accused? You're innocent, but everyone is talking about you, that your reputation is damaged. He was crying in the prison cell. Number 4 is Fatima bint Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, as we mentioned. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And the third is Imam Zain al-Abideen. Imam Zain al-Abideen. He's the 5th who is known for his tears. He used to cry so much for his father, Imam al-Hussein. And when people used to blame him, he used to say that Yaqub cried for decades and Yusuf was safe. Nothing happened to Yusuf. You blame me for crying when I witnessed what I witnessed on the 10th of Muharram. Whenever they would give him a cup of water, can you imagine how difficult it was for Imam Sajjad to drink water after that day? He lived for decades. He was martyred in the 95th year after the Hijrah. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was martyred in the 61st year, so over 30 years. We take drinking water, so we drink water as every time Imam Sajjad drank water, he relived that tragedy. He relived it. It would mix with his tears. Until Abu Hamza al-Thumali, he said to Imam Sajjad, Ya ibn Rasulillah, illa mata al-buka. Abu Hamza al-Thumali, what does he say? He says, Ya ibn Rasulillah, how much longer are you going to cry? How much longer? Ya ibn Rasulillah, al-qatlu lakum aada wa karamatukum min Allah al-shahada. Ya ibn Rasulillah, why are you crying? Your father was not the first one to be killed in the way of Allah. getting killed is something that's unfortunately very common in your family. That the Prophet was poisoned, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen was hid in his mihrab, Imam al-Hasan was poisoned, Fatima al-Zahra was martyred. This is nothing new. وَكَرَامَتُكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ الشَّهَادَةِ, that martyrdom is an honor that Allah has bestowed upon you. So why are you crying? This is nothing new. Do you know what Imam Zain al-Abideen says? You know, tonight I'm going to really break your hearts over the musib of Imam Sajjad. He says, Na'am, shakarallahu sa'yaka ya Aba Hamza. You're right. Imam Sajjad says, you're right. Being killed is something very common in our family. And martyrdom is an honor that Allah has bestowed upon us. But I ask you, وَلَكِنْ أَسْأَلُكَ بِاللَّهِ يَا أَبَا حَمْزَةَ هَلْ سَبْيُ النِّسَاءِ لَنَا عَادًا. Allahu Akbar. Is it also common for our women and children to be taken as captives? Is this also common? Imam Sajjad on the 10th of Muharram, he witnessed more bloodshed than you and I can possibly imagine. And you have to really marvel at the patience of Imam Sajjad. You know, brothers and sisters, if you lose one loved one, say that your mother passes away. God forbid your mother passes away. And you were very close to your mother. Believe me, you become paralyzed. Imagine your mother and your father pass away on the same day. Maybe you'll have to be hospitalized. Maybe you'll even faint. You won't be able to function. You will need the entire community to lift you up. But what did Imam Sajjad lose on the 10th of Muharram? He lost his beloved uncle Abul Fadl al-Abbas. Al-Abbas was Imam Zain al-Abideen's uncle. You know, if you have an uncle that you're very close to, Imam Sajjad had a very close relationship with his uncle Abbas. On the 10th of Muharram, after everyone was martyred except Imam al-Hussein, Imam al-Hussein went into the tent of Imam Sajjad. Imam Sajjad was laying on the ground. He was ill. He was sick. He was going in and out of consciousness. He wasn't aware of what had happened on the battlefield. He wakes up and he sees his father standing in the tent, distressed. Imam Zain al-Abideen, he was 18, 19, 20 years old. He says, Ya abata ma sana'ta al-yawm biha'ula al-munafiqin. What have you done to these munafiqin, these hypocrites today? Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he says, Bunay, istahwadha alayhim ash-shaytan. That shaytan has conquered their hearts, they're gone. There's no hope for these people. Everyone, and the first thing that Imam Sajjad asks, he sees Imam Hussein standing alone. The first question that Imam Sajjad asks is, Ya abata, ayna ammi al-Abbas? Where is my uncle Abbas? You see, Imam Zain al-Abideen knew that if Abbas is alive, then Imam al-Hussein is safe. When Imam Hussein told Imam Sajjad, Inna ammaka qad qutil, that your uncle was killed and his arms were severed by the Euphrates. Do you know what happened to Imam Sajjad? Just to give you an idea of who Abul Fadl al-Abbas is, the narration says that Imam Sajjad fainted. He fainted. He fainted when he heard that Abbas has been killed. He lost Al-Abbas, he lost Ali al-Akbar, he lost his brothers, his nephews, his cousins. But you see the Imam alayhi salam, not only did he not become paralyzed from the grief, he had to give hope to the Shias that the mission must continue, that we have to carry on. And if you look at Sahif al-Sajjadiyya, you see Imam Zain al-Abideen, he took that pain, that feeling of helplessness, and he turned it into the most beautiful du'as. His pain and his sorrow made him keenly aware of his dependency on Allah. You think Munajat of Imam Zain al-Abideen is a coincidence? If you read it, you can tell that this is coming from a broken heart. A heart that has lost hope in this dunya. A heart that only hopes in Allah Azza wa Jal. But indeed, one of the most painful events was what happened after the 10th of Muharram. What Imam Sajjad witnessed was even more painful than what Imam al-Hussein witnessed. Imam al-Hussein, he was martyred. He saw the bloodshed, but it ended there. It was Imam Sajjad who had to witness the bloodshed and the captivity that followed the bloodshed. They were taken from Karbala to Kufa on foot. They had to walk. Imam Sajjad, he was in shackles and chains. I want you to understand how much this Imam endured, so you and I can learn the pure Islam from Ahlul Bayt. Look at how valuable Islam is, that Ahlul Bayt, they were willing to go through all of this suffering so we can appreciate this deen that we have inherited. For 40 days, Imam Sajjad is in shackles and chains. Allahu Akbar. Can you imagine? You have shackles around your neck and around your wrists and around your ankles for 40 days. They did not take them off of you for 40 days. Karbala to Kufa, Kufa to Sham. When the caravan arrived in Sham, do you know what Yazid did to them? He made them stand outside of the gate of Sham. The city had gates. They had to stand at the gate. He wouldn't allow them to go in for 3 days. Sayyida Zainab, Imam Zain al-Abideen, Ruqayya, Sukaina, Imam al-Baqir, who was 3 years old. They are sitting under the sky, no shelter, for 3 days. While people in Sham, they're singing and they're celebrating. And these children, you want to talk about trauma? These are the children of the Prophet, of Imam al-Hussein. They're standing under the sky for 3 days. And they have the heads of their fathers, their uncles, their brothers, their nephews on spears in front of them. Sahel ibn Sa'd as-Sa'idi, one of the companions of the Prophet, he says, on my way to Jerusalem, I passed through Sham. And I found that the city was celebrating. People were singing, and I saw that there were decorations. It was an atmosphere of jubilance. So I asked the people, do the people of Sham have an Eid that we are not aware of? They told Sahel that no, we don't have any Eid that you are not aware of. We have the same a'yad as other Muslims, but the Amir is celebrating the arrival of a head, a severed head that came from Iraq. Sahel, again, he says, what is this head? What is all of this commotion? He says, where is this head that was brought from Iraq? Who does this head belong to? They say, Ya Sahal, it is the head of Hussein ibn Ali. It is the head of Hussein, the son of Ali. Allahu Akbar. Sahal was in Medina. He remembers Imam al-Hussein. This is the same Hussein that used to sit in the lap of Rasulullah. This is the same Hussein that used to climb on the back of Rasulullah when he was in sujood. This is the same Hussein that Rasulullah used to kiss his lips. He says, where is the head of my beloved? They direct him to the head that is mounted on a spear. Sahal, he says, I came close to the head. I looked at the head and I felt that I was looking at the face of Rasulullah. He says, I couldn't believe it. The son of Imam Ali, the grandson of the Prophet, his head is on a spear. Look at the musibah, brothers and sisters, that 50 years earlier, Rasulullah raises the hand of Ali saying, Man kuntu mawla, fahadha aliyun mawla. 50 years later, the head of Imam al-Hussein is raised on a spear. Sahal, he says, after I saw that head on the spear, I looked, and there was one little girl that broke my heart. He says, I saw sorrow and grief in her eyes. I went to her and I asked her, who are you? قالت أنا سكينة. I am Sukaina. أنا يتيمة أبي عبد الله. I am the orphan daughter of Imam al-Hussein. What does Sukaina say? Sukaina says to Sahal that, oh Sahal, can you do a favor for me? He says, what? He says, can you tell the soldier to move the head of my father away, because the eyes of strange men are looking at us. If they move the head, maybe they will look away from us. Sahal, he says, I gave the soldier 400 dinars to just move the head away from the children. He says, after I did that, my eyes fell on Ali ibn al-Hussein. I saw Ali ibn al-Hussein, Zain al-Abideen. He was standing there and he was in chains and shackles. I went to the Imam. Ya ibn Rasulullah, Mawlai, hal laka haja? Do you need me to do anything for you? The Imam alayhi salam, he says, Ya Sahal, hal indaka thawbun atiq? Allah. He says, do you have a rag to give me? Sahal says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, you want me to give you a rag? You are from the family of generosity. You only give that which is new. Why do you want me to give you some old rags? The Imam alayhi salam, he says, please just give me the rags. He says, I gave him some rags. I saw Imam Zain al-Abideen. He said to me, I need the rags because the shackles are hurting my skin. Sahal says, when Imam Sajjad, when he lifted the shackle from his neck and he put the rag between the shackles so it wouldn't cut his neck. Sahal says, when the Imam lifted the shackle, I saw blood starting to stream down his neck. But did the tragedy stop there? Many, many years later, this Imam, his life ended when he was poisoned by Al-Walid ibn Abd al-Malik. When Imam Zain al-Abideen was on his deathbed, the Imam alayhi salam, he calls his son Imam al-Baqir to give him one final piece of advice. What does he say? قال بني, oh my beloved son, my wasiyah to you, my advice to you is the same thing. I'm going to tell you now the same thing that Imam al-Hussein told me before he was killed. What was the final thing Imam al-Hussein said to Imam al-Sajjad? What was his final wasiyah? Imam Zain al-Abideen says to his son Imam al-Baqir, my father Hussein on the 10th of Muharram told me, Bunay iyaka wa dhulmu man لا يجد عليك ناصرا إلا الله. Oh my son, beware of oppressing someone who has no helper against you other than Allah. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم.